that horseshoe that's crammed up the Mariners' ass on Saturday night a little bit for some of the wins that they have pulled off lately. It's absurd.
They're doing it's we talked about this before. It's kind of a head scratcher. You kind of shake your head at it, but they just keep winning. They just find ways to win. It's the old right at Notre Dame's got it on there. I think a lot of teams got it as they touch it as they go out to the field. Find a way to win. They just do. They've found new interesting ways to win, and they deliver. I mean, I felt that this would happen on the game when they won on Tuesday, just because the guy that's coming up. The guy, every time he steps to the plate in Cal Raleigh and they've got a chance to take a lead or he's got a chance to win the game, I'm like, he's just going to deliver. Just has that, I don't know, what do you call it, that it factor? Just has it.
Yeah, he doesn't get sped up too often, and you're pretty surprised. Like, even when he makes an out, the at-bat is usually very competitive. Like the other night when he struck out against Mason Miller but fouled off all them pitches and really pushed Mason Miller into a territory that he didn't want to be in. I mean, that's the ideal aspect of it all. But you look at some of the plate appearances the other night, like Julio drawing the walk. I thought Julio had a really good game. Honestly, I thought he played really well. That homer to center is freaking absurd. And then I mean, maybe don't bunt sometimes, but like with Randy, but like it's.
What was the Polanco? Called. Which one? The Polanco bunt or the Randy bunt?
Yeah, one of I can't remember.
The Polanco. I didn't understand. I don't even know if some of those are called.
Yeah, like, they don't call a lot of bunts. Like players kind of do some of that stuff on their own. It was like earlier this year when Polanco had that goofy 2-out bunt to the left side or whatever after he had a couple of hits.
Yeah.
And you're like, ask Dan. He's like, no, we didn't call that.
Yeah.
Like
I don't need to see him. I don't need to see him bunt.
We talked about this before, I think, on here, or maybe it was on the podcast I used to do for the Times. But like a lot of times with like stolen bases and bunts and stuff, that's not called from the dugout. Those are player reads. Like we talked about with Dylan Moore and Julio. They're just green. Green means go. You can go when you want, get a read, go. With somebody and even Cal has the read on certain pitchers. Now, there are times where they may call it because you're trying to avoid a double play or something like that. But for the most part, stuff like that, the strategy, because we're not seeing a bunch of hit and runs and stuff like that. It's not, this isn't high school baseball where you're trying to force the action. They trust their players to make the proper decisions to create the action. I've given our players that freedom. And at one point, Tyson, I'm looking in our first game and, I'm just waiting. It's like waiting for him to go. And he kind of looks at me. And I just go, like, are you going to go or not? Basically. And so, but no, I like, some of the stuff they do. I mean, like, whatever, it's working. You bank the wins and you get them as many as you can, because there's going to be a lull where all the luck and all the stuff that, isn't going to go right, or,
sure.
Cal might get into a slump or something, but so win the games you can, steal the games you can win and go from there. I mean, I think the A's are pretty good. The A's had just a little bit better pitching.
I like the A's a lot. I think that's the team that's going to, like, at the end of the year, those are the two teams that are going to be going at it.
And I mean, like, the one thing is like, you can tell the A's are not afraid of the Mariners pitching, especially their bullpen, other than Munoz, who gives them a little bit of fits. Even then, the other night wasn't good, but like, they just grind it out. And even like Rooker, who's the one guy who strikes out a little bit against the Mariners, he puts the ball in play and gets a lot of quality contact.
They swing, they're aggressive. I mean, that Jack Wilson guy is just a
Jacob Wilson.
Or Jacob Wilson. What did I call him?
I was listening to you the other day. I was like,
did I call him Jack Wilson?
Every time you say Jack, you're gonna have to. I was wondering how many people were texting you or messaging you, and then
I always just
drink every time.
It's I know it is. You know what? Good call. Yeah. Drink every time. Put $1 in the kitty. Yeah, Jacob Wilson. He is, he's a pest.
Yeah. I mean, he's a good player. And they're a solid team. They don't have a ton of depth, like quality depth, but I mean, they kind of just, they know how they want to play and they go out and play that way. They're going to be, a lot of those guys are locked up for a while. So they're going to be pretty salty. They got some
good.
Guys coming.
First baseman's good. Yeah, they got young talent. They're a good, scrappy little ball club. It's been a good series, and we'll see if they can get it today. They win. If they win on Wednesday, they'll be as we record this, their 9th straight series win. And yeah, they just I think their ability to withstand all these injuries and moving parts has been really impressive for them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the one thing is too is like I think the way they're kind of how they play now with some of these players, it's a more efficient way. Like we talked about Rivas and his defense. Having him out there has cleaned up a lot. I mean, think about some of the runs he has saved in the last few games. And then having a way that they want to play Polanco now that he's a little more healthy, can play more. But you have an identity of how you want to play these guys. When you want to play Cal, which was basically every day. But I think they've been pretty solid that way. And by kind of the nature of who they brought up, the strikeouts have decreased just because those are the close players don't strike out quite as much. They're a little bit more contact oriented. So I think it's been pretty interesting. And then you get Brash back, and last night wasn't as crisp. I think he throws that changeup. I know he likes it like it's a new toy. I don't think he should throw it quite as much as he throws. It's got a ton of movement, and it's a really good pitch. But man,
is that the one that hit?
Urias?
Yeah.
No, that was a 97 mile per hour fastball that put his life.
That's right.
But no, I mean, like the bullpen pieces are starting to come back a little bit. And if George Kirby comes back here in a week or so, I mean, like they're rolling pretty well. Do you think that when they bring George back, they put Bryce on the IL and let him rest for 2 weeks?
We've talked about it a lot on here. He just does. There's something wrong with him. I don't know. I mean, he just doesn't look healthy. He doesn't look comfortable. The velocity, all of it. I mean, we keep talking about kind of the same storyline with him after every start. Yeah, I mean, I just thought I think that's always been the kind of my thought that he's going to spend some time on the IL. Whether it's maybe he's injured or there's something leading to it that's going to cause something bigger down the road, or maybe just needs a break.
Yeah, I mean, like we joked about it, but the Gilmesh dead arm that he used to get, and I would take an IL stint to clean it up, rest. One thing too, maybe is like, and he's got pretty simple delivery, but if there are times like if your mechanics are off and your timing on your delivery is off, that can sap 2 to 3 miles per hour off your velocity, and leave you and kind of rob you of your command because it's difficult to repeat it. And there's some mistake in there that you keep repeating that doesn't allow you to get to where you're supposed to be to throw. And I mean, I'm sure they're looking at that, but he just isn't able to execute pitches when he needs to. And, he's really hittable. He's not getting strikeouts. I mean, think about this. If he didn't have that off-speed stuff, all those off-speed pitches that he added, I mean, he'd be really cooked because the fastball's been really hittable when he throws it in the strike zone.
Yeah.
And even when he tries to hump it up on a fastball and get a blow-by on a four-seam, it's only getting to 95. Whereas before, if he really wanted to reach back and throw one top of the zone, it'd be 96 to 97, even 98 at times.
Well, what do you going back to the hitters for a second? Go back to the strikeouts. They're now in the middle of the pack in baseball. They're like 13th or 14th in terms of their strikeout percentage. How much credit do we give Seitzer? Do we give Edgar? Is it the players? What has led to this turnaround for them? Because that has been a huge difference from where it was a year ago. Huge difference where it was the last few years in terms of their strikeouts when they're in the high, mid 20s. Now they're at, they've lowered that. So they're in the middle pack of baseball. Their walk rate is through the roof. They're number one on base percentage and all that. So I know the simple answer is probably the combination of both, but I'm just curious what they've been able to do to cut down on that stuff for them.
Well, I think you mentioned it. The walk rate is a big reason how you cut down on strikeouts. If you walk more, and it means you're seeing better pitches and you're having more discipline within the strike zone. I think, also when you're rolling well and your offense is producing, you don't feel like you have to go out of the strike zone to do something. But, you watch Randy or Julio, they are having different sort of at bats than they were last year. With Polanco, he's healthier. He doesn't feel like he's out on one leg kind of reaching. So those are three of your main guys that are seeing a ton of plate appearances. Well, if they don't strike out as much and they walk more, that helps. You have Rivas in there he's going to try and put the ball in play early. He's not, And even like somebody like Dylan Moore, when you're using him properly, it helps cut down on the strikeouts. It's when you have to put him against a bunch of good right-handed pitchers where, that's a problem. They're going to strike out some. Cal's going to strike out some. But I think overall, the walk rate as a team and the walk rate for a lot of the key players going up helps limit the strikeouts. Because usually that means you're in better counts and you're swinging at better pitches to put the ball in play more to lead to quality contact or just, less swings and misses.
Last 15 games for Julio, including that big night that he had on Tuesday, the 3-hit night with the solo shot there to center field. 274, is on base 348, slugging 468, OPS at 816, 3 home runs. He's driven in 9, drawn 6 walks, he struck out 10. What the one thing that you can look at with him? I did this exercise with Jim Duquette this week. Is that if you look at his numbers, and again going back to the strikeouts and the walks, both areas that are market improvement from a year ago, just in terms of what he's been able to do. He has gotten better in both of those categories. And Jim was saying, I'm sure you would agree, that maybe the other stuff, the results of the hitting and the power hasn't come, but he has at least looked at those two stats and said, well, if those are getting better, then ultimately just to piggyback on what you said, it's going to allow him to get deeper into counts and see more pitches and then thus be able to hit for more power here eventually. And then we saw that on full display on Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. His chase rate is still up. I mean, he's still swinging at pitches out of the zone. When he gets to 0-2, it's still a little bit. But I thought he's been better at battling with 2 strikes than maybe he was last year, a year or two ago. Still hits the ball hard, but I even think about the results. Like, the other night, it wasn't last night, but the night before, he hit 2 balls to right center that all the way to the track that were hit really hard. I mean, checking out his hard hit rate, the batting average and balls in play. Like, I was joking with some of my buddies that Ben Williamson, his middle name should be Babbitt because of all the little bleeders and stuff that have been falling and stuff like that.
He gets it done.
Yeah, but that's what I mean is like it works in a couple different ways. Like Julio, I can think of 4 or 5 balls where Julio's hit them very extremely hard and they've been caught, made by solid plays. I mean, so you take 5 balls that he's hit hard. I think several of them come with runners on base. If those balls are down for doubles, then you're talking about a very different thing. I mean, I think because of who he is, what is expected, what he's making, we're quick to find the criticisms in him. And I mean, like, he brings it on himself because he is out there on social media and everything else. So we're quicker, I think, to find the faults than we are with the positives. But I mean, like, this version of Julio is pretty good and it's going to get better as they go. I think just continuing to be where he's at, you got to remember, like, he had to make some serious overhauls to his approach, his swing, his mentality, all in the last, 40 games of last season. I mean, that's still carrying over into this season. And I think just continuing to follow this path is going to be a pretty good thing. We're seeing, I mean, like, when he hits a ball to center as hard as he does, I mean, that's a good thing. When he's cooking balls there, that means, that, like, when he yanked the hanger, that means, like, you're hitting the ball to center on the fastball, you get the hanger, jump on it, yank it down the line. Like, I think he's just in a better spot hitting wise. And I think he has a better hitting identity than he did a year ago. Yeah. There's going to be lulls and everything else, but we haven't even seen him truly, truly get hot. But I mean, you look at this first month and a half, or the first month and a half, you'll take that over what we've seen from him in the last month and a year ago, 2 years ago. I mean, those were super tepid and really bad. So, and I think the one thing is too, with Cal doing what he's doing, with Randy being better, Polanco being better, he doesn't feel the burden sometimes of having to produce, I mean, JP, we haven't even talked about JP. Like, that guy is as locked in with his swing. Like, that ball he hit last night off the left, he just scalded it to center. You're like, okay, like, this is the guy you thought. I mean, right. We're not seeing maybe the power, but this is who JP Crawford is. And I know Adam's working on a story on this, but JP just kind of got back to a different mindset of going up there and competing. Like, at the end of the day, and we talked about this before, you can't worry about your swing, your stance, your setup, all that stuff when you're in the box. All you're doing now is having the approach of trying to hit the ball hard up the middle, looking for stuff like usually up or out over the plate. and go back to that. I think that's what JP is starting to get back to. I think when stuff went wrong last year, he got caught up in the idea of his driveline mindset, that's off-season work. That's how you build your swing and how you do that, and you maintain it pregame. But once you get in the game, you can't do that. And I do think JP was banged up, and I think he got caught up by the results. I mean, nobody wants to put up bad numbers. Doesn't matter how much you guys make. I mean, how much these guys make. Well, I guess you're Anthony Rendon. You don't really care, but
there's
most of these guys,
there's pressure to that though. Money equals pressure, and I think that
there's a pride factor. Like these guys have all been the best player on their teams growing up. They don't want to suck at the big league level. They worked their entire lives to get to the big leagues. They don't want to be terrible.
Well, and he had such a poor year, and then you look at they missed the postseason by a game. Was it a game last year?
Yeah, I mean, nobody takes that more personally than he does.
Of course, and he wears it. I think that he has wanted to carry the mantle of the team leader, right? That was probably bestowed upon him from Kyle Seager. So I think he takes great pride in being one of the leaders of the baseball team, along with others. Him and Cal, and certainly Julio to a degree. And so I think that how he performed last year, I think he's heard, outside noise. I think they all hear the outside noise about him and wondering if the year that he, had a few seasons ago was just kind of a one-hit wonder. We've talked about that. What is he going to be? Is he going to be more that guy or the guy that he really has been his entire career? So I think you go back to what you said earlier. It's a lot of pride with him. And I think that it's showing this year. I mean, he's just off to, first of all, he didn't get off to the great start. And then he has just been on a tear. I mean, he's up to 292 now. He's almost slugging 400. His OPS at 814. He's on bases at 416.
416 on base, which still, I love the Duquette stat that no player has an on base as high as Aaron Judge's.
Unbelievable. That just tells you, the
insane
year that Judge is having.
I think this is why, I think Julio's had some early successes because others are having success. He doesn't need to carry, it's a different look because, Robles is in there, but you like the first five guys in their lineup a lot. It's just when it gets after the first five guys, you're like, okay, well, this is a little bit of duct tape and
can someone just get hit? But look at the I looked this up today and God, every time I look this stat up, and then one of these putzes that covers the team now has got it in their story. Then I'm like, why did I do any of the work? And I think it was Tim Booth who's filling in for you, along with Jude. Tim's on the road trip. Boy, he drew the great card to go to West Sacramento. I mean, look at their 7 through 9 hitters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys are hitting 251 with an on base of almost 340.
Yeah, to me, and that's one
great.
thing. To me, that's one thing, and you see some people on Twitter reference it because it's the easy stat to look at.
What?
And obviously, every old dude that I get from used to get in emails references the batting average. Yeah, batting average is a nice stat, but to me, the most important thing is how much do you get on base?
Yeah,
you're a 7, 8, 9 hitter. How do you get on base? And the outs you do, the outs you do make better be productive outs, like contact outs. Don't be striking out a bunch. That was the problem in the past, is just they struck out too much. They struck out too much with runners in scoring position. And their numbers with runners in scoring position aren't even that great right now. But just be productive, be efficient, and get the ball in play, on a above average level, and better things will happen because they are pretty athletic.
Yeah.
They are. They're not. This isn't a team of plotters other than, Rowdy, who looks like your long lost brother. But no, I just think that I think they're just in a better spot. I think if you'd have told me though that they wouldn't have had Kirby the first month and a half, and Robles would essentially miss the first month and a half. Polanco had been dinged up. I was like, there's no way. I would have said you would have needed guys like JP to have outstanding, be really good during the stretch, and that's what they've gotten.